Hello, my name is Dr. Joshua Chism, and I am the Director of Choral Activities at Oklahoma Baptist University. And today we will be discussing a recent qualitative investigation titled "Better Together: Reflections of Pre-Service Music Teachers in Community-Based Service Learning Internships." A little bit of background. Previous research says that student service learning internships increase personal, intellectual, and social growth. It helps pre-service music teachers transition to the workplace easier. And of course, it provides authentic teaching experiences for our pre-service music teachers, which are valued over peer teaching experiences. It also, the research clearly indicates that service based internships develop teacher skills, responsibility, self confidence, a sense of caring for others, professionalism, and others. So, the purpose of this qualitative study was to investigate the experience of undergraduate pre service music teachers that participated in community based service learning internships. I wanted to specifically look at the perceived benefits and then the biggest challenges. So, here's what we did. There were 11 collegiate music majors spread out over two different internship sites. The first site was the students at the first site were from a public R1 state university partnered with a local house of worship. In this case, it was a local Methodist church. There were 7 pre-service music ed majors. What they did was they taught kindergarten through 5th grade after school music program, and then they also assistant taught in a middle school choral ensemble, all sponsored by this church. Those students were engaged in folk dancing and singing activities and music games and music literacy and ORF and handbells. Think of it almost like general music rotation for grades K through 5. And then they were with a middle school choral ensemble in a typical rehearsal setting. They served as section leaders and assistant conductors and section leaders, and they ran sectionals and played piano and things like that. At the second site, the institution was a small, private, religious liberal arts university partnered with a local house of worship. In this case, it was a Presbyterian church. There were 4 collegiate music majors in this cohort. Specifically, they provided musical leadership with an adult handbell choir and an adult chancel choir, an adult church choir. They served as musical models, vocal models. They led sectional rehearsals. They played piano. They led sectionals when we did breakout sessions. And they conducted and rehearsed the full ensemble under my supervision, but also on their own. The data collected were the data used for triangulation were individual interviews with the students, focus group interviews with the students, and my researcher observation and notes. We used descriptive coding and grouped them by emergent themes. Here's what we found. We found that students addressed changes across a variety of their dispositional, philosophical, and technical skills. We found changes to students' philosophy of music education. We found changes to students' skill development, specifically their disposition skills, non-musical disposition skills, interpersonal skills, their technical skills, and their pedagogical skills. We found that this experience impacted the students' professional, practical, and spiritual needs. We found that the students reported elements related to authentic teaching context, the role of the mentor, or in this case, me, the investigator, the value, the added value to a music education program, changes to their classroom management skills, and quite frankly, just overuse, either of the voice or of their individual time. So let's dive into some of the specific quotes that these students provided us. You can see the more pertinent elements that have been highlighted in red. Many students noted impact that can be grouped under teacher identity development. Some points of note include students that thought that they were best suited for one age level, but found that maybe their basic disposition opened their eyes to the possibility that they may be well suited for a different age level. Some participants reported that they thought they might be really excellent with high school, but they found that they worked really well with middle schoolers. Some found that they liked small children more than they ever thought they would. Some reported that they sort of fell into their teacher persona, their teacher self. It was just an incredibly powerful experience that students reported so many positive impacts that related to teacher identity. Students also reported changes that can be grouped into philosophy. Students reported that they were thinking that previously that they thought mainly about output, but in the course of this internship, their philosophy changed to more the process and the learners themselves, rather than just what they could get out of their students, and just thinking about product versus process and process versus product. And it was incredibly powerful. Students also reported that their philosophy was strengthened. Many students felt that they had a good teaching philosophy, but it really strengthened and confirmed some of the things that were already in their heart and in their mind. Participants also reported an increase in their confidence and their self-efficacy. Simply put, a student said, "I am a lot more confident in my teaching abilities now than when I started. There was a huge increase in my confidence. I have a greater understanding that all people have different experiences and to treat people with kindness despite what may be presented." So it's just really excellent that we can see that students see an increase in self-efficacy, but also an increase in their empathy. We see also an increase in perceived professional communication ability. Students felt that they were better communicators as a result of this experience. And then from my own observation, it's great to see the students in these internships demonstrate increased patience and confidence and leadership capacity. There were several interpersonal reports here. Let's see if we can get them all on the screen. Whoop. There we go. Participants reported a deeper connection to their colleagues and to the other interns in the program. They really did grow as a little cohort. They really became a very solid team. They worked along friends and colleagues, and it was really a very powerful experience. And then the students reported a deep connection to the program participants, whether it was the students, like the college students, really over the course of the year fell in love with their students that they were teaching. In the adult setting at site number 2, the collegiate students really loved their adult choir members and handbell choir members. The adult participants really accepted our collegiate students as sort of surrogate children in a way. There was a great sense of reciprocity and back and forth where the students invested, the participant students invested in the program participants, and the program participants invested in the program interns in equal share. It's a beautiful, beautiful process. From a technical perspective, students reported an increase in their music reading and their literacy skills, their sight reading and their sight singing ability, an increase in their ability to lead and to facilitate warm-ups and vocal warm-up patterns, playing piano in rehearsal. They reported increased conducting facility and technical accuracy from a conducting perspective. They increased a greater awareness of their use and their self-efficacy in serving as a vocal model, increased expression and artistry as singer and conductor, and an increased sense of listening and choral diagnostic skills or error detection. One student reported, "This internship has positively impacted the way I teach, the way I sing, and the way I lead." from an instructional perspective, we see many different positive impacts. We see the value of co-teaching. Since the students ran sectionals in teams, they led at Site 1, they led the small children, the kindergarten through fifth graders, also in teams. They enjoyed this idea of teaching with a colleague. They got to feed off of each other, bounce ideas off of each other. They also reported an increase in the quality of their instructional verbiage. They reported that they were able to teach with more efficiency and use verbiage in a way that made sense to students. And throughout the course of the internship, my observations support that. It was great to see students go from not sure about how to phrase their instructions, not sure how to efficiently give instructions to students, to really come into their own, to speak with authority, to speak with efficiency, and to speak with teacher intent, really helping our students just find their teacher voice. Also, our students became much more flexible. We all know that in the classroom, what we're doing is really just a glorified form of improvisation, and it was great to see the students make the transition from very formal, regimented lesson plans to what we would call more organic lesson plans, ones that are flexible in the students in the moment based on their needs, their energy level, their skill set, their achievement. It was just a beautiful thing. Additionally, participants report that there are professional benefits. Quite frankly, internships look good on a resume. There were practical benefits. These students in both sites did engage in these programs for a bit of money from the host sites. So there was some practical, it wasn't a lot, but there was some practical benefits. They were paid. And they reported that this money was good for additional income, money to put gas in their car or buy their groceries once a week, something like that. I mean, they weren't getting rich on this, but this supplementary income, while small, was beneficial. And they did report that this was an excellent job that fit the life of a music major. Often our music major students have a very fragmented schedule, a very busy, very high impact type of schedule. So working a few hours a couple of times a week for these internships was really beneficial. Many of our students also reported personal or spiritual benefits. Since both of these internships were in a house of worship, there were naturally some dispositional and spiritual benefits that came along with it. While none of our participants had to profess a certain faith life or ideological slant or perspective, many students reported a wide variety of spiritual benefits, depending, of course, on their level of desire to engage in that aspect of that learning environment. It was not a requirement, of course, but many students who maybe had a faith life before this internship process reported that this process and engaging with these folks in this faith-based capacity did deepen their faith, which was really a lovely thing. One student reported that being around this community helped me see God's love in so many areas, and it was wonderful to be in such an environment and see growth in myself. Many participants reported that it was a game changer to be in an authentic teaching environment. We all know that we provide opportunities for our pre-service music education students. We want them to be as authentic as possible, but even in the classroom in a methods course, they are teaching their colleagues. They are teaching other students who kind of quote, kind of to say, get the gag. They're in on the joke, as it were to say. But providing these authentic learning environments for our students where they are really teaching, whether it's students or adults, they are actually teaching. It's a game changer. Students report that learning how to use different techniques in school and using them in real life are very different experiences. One student reported that they now view teaching as an acquired skill that can't be duplicated with other music education students in an artificial environment. One student said, in my university music methods class, I'm only really focusing on how I'm teaching, but with real kids, I have to focus on how they're responding to my teaching. A game changer. Participants also their feedback also really revealed the powerful role of the mentor. In this case, that was me. I was the university music education professor in both of these sites, and I served as the liaison between the university and the university students and the community partnerships, in this case, in both houses of worship. Um, and this study revealed that there takes a special relationship, there takes a special connection between the person who sort of has a foot in both areas, both in the community and in higher education, to sort of bridge the gap. Students did report the powerful role of my particular position, where I was tasked with providing an opportunity for these students, but also supervising these students to ensure that they were providing high quality and high impact instruction for the community folks that they were working with, the students and the adult learners. It was my responsibility to ensure that they were well equipped, that they were prepared, that they had the resources and the training and the scaffolding that they needed to be successful in their learning environments. Quite frankly, it was like preparing subplans. It takes a lot more time and energy to prepare the subplans often than it is to just show up and teach the lesson myself. And so I found that it was very important for me to work extra hard to ensure that our students had what they needed so they could be successful. I did find that it was a challenge to balance autonomy and providing guided teaching for these students. How much do I, as the mentor, take over for the students, intercede when they struggle, ensure high quality education for the students and the adult learners, but also not stifle the educational experience of the program participants? And those were challenging elements that I, as the mentor teacher and as the researcher and as the director of this study, really had to balance in myself. Challenges. The students reported challenges between the internship and their academics. Quite frankly, music students are busy, and they felt like the stress of their full-time academic coursework took away from their success and potential in the internship. The students were not always as prepared as I would have liked for them to have been when they arrived for their internships. But then also the challenges themselves. Students really worked, like many pre-service music teachers, classroom management is an issue, at least from my perspective. And so students also felt that. They reported that the thing that was the biggest challenge for them had to do with classroom management, how to engage students, how to keep their attention, while they are instructing. And even with the adult learners in the second site, our students, our program participants reported that it's challenging to keep even adult musicians and adult learners engaged. And then another challenge that was reported was just simply overuse of the voice. Students are singing all day, they are teaching all day, they are working all day, and then they use their voice in a teacher type of environment, and it just really wears on the students, especially if they're not used to that. Despite the challenges, students reported that there was an astronomical added value to a music education program. Students reported that this was an opportunity that they had yet to receive in any of their methodology. And this was not a formal part of the music education curriculum. This was just a kind of a tester to see if this type of program would even work in these two communities, to see if we could even find the community partners, to see if we could even find the pre-service music educators that had the potential to serve in these capacities, had the bandwidth to serve in these capacities. And so none of this study was a formal component of any university music education program. It was just an add-on. But the students really saw the benefit, and they thought that this was an astronomical return on investment for their music education experience, even though it was an informal one. Participants said that this was a perspective that isn't offered anywhere else on campus, that this experience put them at an advantage over their peers when they went into the job market. This experience helped me develop my skills, knowledge, and teaching philosophy early on, which would put them at an advantage in the job application process after graduation. So let's get to the point. Quite frankly, this was an astronomical return on investment for these students, and it was a great return on investment for our community partners. I assert that universities should intentionally seek out community partners and develop opportunities for pre-service music teachers. It is also an additional outlet for music ed skills in authentic teaching environments. It should also be intentionally connected to music education curriculum and coursework because of the significant return on investment. And I assert that the music education profession should expand its definition of practicum to include music education opportunities in non-P12 settings. We know that we send our music ed students out to observe and to work in classrooms, but there are many education settings that are not in P12 settings, that are in houses of worship, that are in civic settings, that are in community-based graded choral ensembles for students. And music educators, pre-service music teacher educators should intentionally find these places in our communities where we can plug in our students. Let me leave you with this very powerful quote by one of our program participants. This internship has brought so much meaning into my music degree. It is the perfect embodiment of why for studying music education. Just a powerful, powerful quote. Of course, references, there they are. I want to say thank you for being a part of this presentation today. Once again, my name is Dr. Joshua Chism. I'm the Director of Choral Activities at Oklahoma Baptist University, and this has been Better Together, Reflections of Pre-Service Music Teachers in Community-Based Service Learning Internships. Thank you.